Welcome to this new how-to. In this how-to we're gonna look at the lights of the runway. In a previous video we already looked at the markers of runways. In this video, as mentioned, we're gonna look at the lights. And as you can see, there are a lot of lights on the runway. It's currently 20 minutes after 10 o'clock in the Netherlands, so also at the Rotterdam airport. And we start at the start of the runway, right? So the start of runway will give you some more information about the category of the runway. In case it's a tree like this, it could be it's in most cases it's category 1 or category 2 plus runway. In a category 2 plus runway you would also expect that these lights to be switched on, and since there are lights here, I expected that this might be an issue with Flight Simulator, although I'm not 100% sure about that. So if you find a runway which doesn't have these lights at the start of the runway, you know it's a non-precision runway, right? So it doesn't have any lights, light bulbs. So when we're continuing, we're seeing a lot of other lights. So the first ones are the red lights and the green ones. The green ones are marking the start of the runway and the red ones are marking the end of the runway. And besides that, we've got a lot of white lights, both in the center of the runway, which we can see here, right? So let me zoom in a bit further. You can see here, and also on both, I would say, sides of the runway, you will be able to see light markings. These are set 200 foot max spacing between the lights, so keep that in mind. Then when we're going a little bit further, you see the 4 lights here on the left, and these 4 lights are the PAPI lights. We already discussed that in a previous video, right? So the PAPI lights can be used for the approach, and the PAPI stands for Precision Approach Path Indicator, right? So if 2 lights are red, then it indicates you're on the glide path. If there's another pattern being shown, it means that you're either below the glide path or above the glide path. So keep that in mind. Besides the precision approach path indicators, we also have the visual approach slope indicator, which is the VASI, but Rotterdam Airport doesn't have those lights. We'll probably pause recording somewhere and then we'll find an airport and then we'll continue the recording, but let's first continue on the Rotterdam Airport because we're not there yet. So here we see some red lights and some green lights. So the green lights give an indication of the taxi route, and as you can see, there's a taxiway here which allows you to leave the runway, which is marked by blue lights on both sides of the taxiway. Continuing with the runway, you can see more and more red lights, and the more red lights you see, I would say the closer you get to the end of the runway, which is always marked by these red lights here. So this means, hey, this is the end of the runway, and we'll inform you, hey, I can't go any further. I either need to take the taxiway or need to do something else. And here's another jet taking off here, kind of cool to see. The PAPI lights, which I just showed you, you just showed them, right? So you saw them turning red and then turning white again. So let's go quickly to the start of the runway because there's another airplane probably approaching or maybe even landing, as you can see. So let me turn around a bit. Let's see if this one goes to land on Rotterdam Airport or maybe flies by. It's hard to figure out. As you can see, there are also, I would say, blinking lights, and those blinking lights will also tell you a lot, right? It's the start of the runway. It will also give you some indications. And here are the PAPI lights, right? So currently you see that two of the lights are red. Now nothing is red anymore. And if 2 lights are red again, then you're on the let's say glide scope. So you can see them here also. So if you would let's say go above the glide scope, then they will turn all white, and if you're too low, then they will turn all red. As you can see, it also reacts on the drone. So currently they're all red, which means that we're simply too low and that we don't launch in the, I would say, correct landing zone. Cool that it reacts on drones also. Wasn't aware of that. So this is, I would say, the normal runway. It's a category 1 or 2, and we can see there's another aircraft coming in. So let's see if it... So it's currently on the glide scope. And will land successfully, as you can see. So let me pause recording and let's find another, I would say another runway, which has some additional lights, which I can explain to you. So we move to another airport, in this case a Brussels airport, and you can see clearly that this one is a category 2 plus runway, because it has both the, I would say, longer stripe of lights at the start, and then a smaller stripe of lights, say a little bit further. Other than that, there are not much, or there's not so much different compared to Rotterdam. There's some more lights, as you can see here on the, I would say, start of the runway. So there are 3 lights, or 5 lights in the middle, are all white. Then you've got the 3 times the red lights on both ends, and then it will indicate the start of the runway completely green here. And you can see there's another aircraft waiting to take off from the airport. Brussels has also PAPI lights, which is great, easy to use, right? So definitely recommend to use them. And you can see a lot of blue lights here to indicate the, I would say, the sides of the runway, and the green ones to indicate the taxiways. In case of Brussels, you can also see some yellow lights, which we didn't see at Rotterdam Airport. And those yellow lights are also indicating that you're, I would say, closely coming to the end of the runway. And eventually you will end up with the red lights, just like Rotterdam Airport. So let me turn around here. You can see not a lot of differences. However, what you can see here, and that's, I would say, interesting to see, is that the other end of the runway doesn't have any lights, I would say, on the grass part, which means that this runway in that case would be a non-precision runway, right? We discussed that if there are no lights, it's a non-precision runway. Also other indicators like the markers, although in this case the markers are, I would say, kind of okay-ish. So I will pause video, or pause the recording again, and we'll find another airport which has, I would say, a different set of lights, because I still want to show you the what were they called? The Vasi lights, right? In the meantime, let's enjoy the nice view of Brussels Airport from the air. So again, we'll pause recording. We'll be back with the last part of this video, which are the Vasi lights. So I found the one airport with Vasi lights, right? And you can already see them. Currently they're white, and if I would go a little bit down with the drone, you will see that both are red. Or if I go a little bit up, that means that the 2 close to me will remain white, and the other ones are red, right? Which means that I'm on the idle glide path. And if I would normally do that, normally follow that, I would land on this spot of the runway. So I would say PAPI and Vasi can be used both. They're having the same functionality. The only difference is that the position they are, right? Vasi means 2 lights and in 2 rows, and the PAPI lights are 4 lights in 1 row. The other thing which I would like to see or show you is that this runway has, I would say, no lights up front, and as we just have learned, that means that it's a special runway, right? So this runway in that case is a non-precision runway, so it's not even a category runway. So I think we discussed most lights now. There are some more lights in some cases, for example just prior to the exit point of the runway, like the holding line, where you need to hold before you can I'd say drive on the runway, or taxi on the runway I should say. But these are also not always available on all airports, so keep that in mind. Here ends this video. I hope you liked it. I hope you learned something. If you liked it, then consider to use the like button. If you've got questions or comments, then feel free to leave them in the comment box below the video. And if you want to stay up to date about new videos I'm posting, then consider subscribing to my channel. Thanks for watching and see you next time.